Hello guys, this is Tom Wonderland back with more of the Unfinished Swan, already kicking off to Chapter 2. Doing it post-commentary though, and there's a reason for that, but first, we have story interlude to cover.
Monroe scrambled out of the water and found himself in a massive city with no sign of the swan or anyone else. Well, except someone's enormous pair of feet. These were attached to a giant who could have been a big help in catching the swan, but unfortunately, here was the laziest giant who had ever lived, and it was his day off. Having celebrated in his usual way, he was now sleeping it off and quite unable to hear Monroe yelling. While he was looking for a way to wake the giant, Monroe noticed something even better: a floating ship.
Okay, with that said, welcome back to the Let's Play of the Unfinished Swan. I mentioned earlier that this was post-commentary, and there is a reason for that. My commentary recorded just fine for it with live commentary. Everything seemed to go well, but then I go to find out that I never hit the record button for the video. I had an incredibly oh shit moment at that point and was like, what did I do wrong? And then looking back, it's like no way to salvage it. I have commentary that's really good, but has no use without a video that matches with it. So yeah, we are redoing this chapter again, and I'm doing post commentary because I don't really have an effective way of going back through that chapter. I mean, I guess I could have done it live commentary, but at this point, I just needed to kind of like walk away from what happened and then come back and be like, I'm a whole new person now. This is what happens though when you record videos, and when you haven't been doing them for a while, you take a long break and then you come back to it and it's like problems like this. Oh yes, I remember that. And you just want your mind to kind of be devoid of all that. Anyways, we got a page here.
Sometimes the giant wondered about where all the people in the city had gone. Mostly he worried they might come back and ask him to clean their gutters or put out their fires. But they never did, and that was why the giant, who was the laziest that had ever lived, was also the happiest.
Anyways, I was saying about wanting to forget about mistakes that can happen when recording videos. That's one I would definitely love to forget if it could be something that just never happens, but you gotta be careful what you do. Let's playing is progress. Like, there's a lot that goes into making these videos for you guys, so I've been really happy with the support I've gotten. I've uploaded a couple videos over time already, and I'm tremendously thankful for the amount of support I've received for them. I just never dreamed that I would have as many people as I did watch them for being away for what seems like a really long time. So once again, everyone who's watching this, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And in addition, with the Unfinished Swan, I mentioned in the first video of the project actually that I am doing this in conjunction with finishing up Wind Waker HD. I would like to continue the video game collection series too. There's actually a good bit recorded for it. Just have to do some editing and find some music to put into the videos that will fit appropriately based on the systems they're based on. But
Before he discovered painting, the king was a potter. He loved the simplicity of a well-spun pot. So when his subjects complained that his new city was too austere and that there was nowhere to relieve themselves, the king ignored them. But when they started relieving themselves in his pots, the king hastily built them a sewer system.
so keep in mind, folks, if you have a really poor sewage system, just use the bathroom in your king's pottery or whatever else it is that they admire, or anything really. I mean, that might give them the message to build a sewage system. Just let's get the Mario Brothers right on it. Why don't we? But anyway, yeah, video game collection series. Like I said, I would like to get that back up and running again soon. Hopefully, it won't be too much longer till I get back to posting those as well, because I do want to finish that series as well, especially since it was supposed to be a 500 plus subscriber special. Hence why I used the plus after the exact number that the subscriber special refers to. The plus is the best part about it because, well, it's never going to stay at that same exact number consistently for a long period of time. And if anything, it's went up much higher than I thought it would. So I'm already close to like almost 1,000 by the time I'm recording this. I'm like, oh my god, I have to think of another special again. So yeah, I want to get a crack on with that and get it finished up. And it's some cool stuff to show you guys. A little taste of what my collection's like with the games I purchase and get from family and find at garage sales and all that. It's a little bit of a hobby of mine. I don't consider myself a serious game collector, but I have a pretty high number of games that might speak otherwise, so depends on the person you ask, I guess. But yeah, back to this game. So, like I said, the video didn't record it all. I had really good commentary, which sucks. But I think I don't think I actually addressed the mechanic yet. As you've seen so far, instead of ink balls like in chapter 1 that we were using, we're now throwing water balls. And it does play a bigger role later on in chapter 2 here that we'll see when the time comes. And I did a really good job with finding all but one balloon, actually. The very last page, I managed to mess up with not finding one of the balloons, and it was actually in a pretty obvious location, but I decided to save it for a future video where I backtrack to show the parts that I grazed over to get the remaining balloons and stuff that I missed the first time. But yeah, that particular balloon I just showed with that yellow one there, that is a really well hidden one. I believe the first time I played the game, I did not even think about looking in the darkness there. Like, my radar was going off when I had the balloon radar, and I just couldn't figure out where in the world that was. But yeah, this chapter, it takes place in a big section of the king's palace, or a bandit palace, really. It's definitely very ambient with how empty it is, in the sense that there's no other people here. I mean, there's stuff to do, and you do have to make your way through it beginning to end. So it still has an adventure element to it. It's just interesting how, like, when there's no people there, how different it can make the game feel. It reminds me of Journey. I think I said by mistake before earlier that the same people made Journey, but that's not true. Giant Sparrow didn't make Journey. That Game Company actually did. That is the name of it, by the way. That Game Company. Sony Computer Entertainment's published both games, though, if that's any consolation. That I do know. And for what I do here, I see coming up that I got a little rambunctious and overzealous with wanting to proceed fast, but I mess up the jump and fall down. I fall down, or rather Monroe did. Blame him, not me. It's totally Monroe's fault. But yeah, I just made a quick cut. It's not like a long distance, but I still cut it out anyway, just to say for the fact that, well, I don't want the videos getting too long. So it's a very simplistic game though overall, so I probably didn't have to cut, but like I said earlier, I just don't want the videos to get too long. So anyway, moving on here with the game. We haven't really seen the big mechanic with this chapter just yet. I mean, we're still doing a lot of climbing, getting any of the balloons that we see, which turned out that I was actually getting all of them with each page till I get to the very end of the chapter. Then I missed one. But yeah, what happened here, well, actually, what I should have done while I was there was hit the propeller so that the scaffolding machinery would spin around so that I can actually access it on the other side, get on it, and climb over. But in a way, it was kind of a blessing in disguise, which will make sense here in a few moments when I show you what happens. But, yeah, it's pretty straightforward as far as what you got to do. Not really too puzzly. Um, at least not heavily in puzzle. Just this part where it's like, oh yeah, you should have been on the other side where you can actually reach the propellers. But yeah, this is where I had that little epiphany, and then I did see that I missed a balloon, so I do cut here to go back to, one, get that balloon that I missed, and two, to actually hit the propellers so that I can spin the machine around and I can get onto it. So as the game plays, I figured now more than ever would be a good time to kind of just talk about other things. I know I struggled to death with that in some of the videos I've already recorded so far, because it's like, oh my god, I gotta point this out, oh my god, look how amazing that is, and then I'm like in the middle of a story and it's like, oh wait, there's a storybook page. So I stay quiet for the storybook pages, off to the side note here, just because, well, there is a narrator reading them, and it is, in my opinion, a little obnoxious when someone talks over another voice that's playing. I don't know, it feels kind of out of place, even for a video game. Like, it feels like almost like in real life where you're like interrupting someone whenever someone else is talking. That's kind of what it feels like to me, so that's why I don't like talking over narration parts, if I can help it, and that's if I catch it. But I have the music on so I can hear it at least, so that's a good thing. But yeah, guess I can tell some stories and stuff going on in my life. I mentioned before, if it wasn't in this video, it might have been in the Wind Waker HD video. So I'll kind of talk about it in this one, I guess. I think it was Wind Waker HD, I mentioned it. I'm actually a social worker, for those who don't know. That is the job I have. I specialize specifically with families where the child or youth or whoever in the case has intellectual or physical disabilities. But I do also work with the intake and what's called the CPS department, which is Child Protective Services. So I'll stop here for a moment.
As the city filled up with people, the streets filled up with garbage. In a fury, the king painted over the roads with a canal, which swept away the trash, along with some of the slower children. But the water brought something else, a horde of vines which began covering the city.
So as I was saying, I specialize with, I said intake and CPS, which CPS is Child Protective Services. So I do work on call as well. So there are some weeks, it's usually on average about like once every 3 or 4 weeks. So it's usually about once a month that I have a week where I have to do on call stuff. And what that means is I work past closing hours to answer, to return calls, or if there's potential emergency of some kind of abuse or neglect that's reported of children. That is something that I do have to work with in the job that I do. So yes, I am that kind of person. the social worker that's typically loathed for always being accused of wanting to quote unquote take children away, when I've explained time and time again that placement of a child is a last resort. I don't really have any other way of explaining it. Like, at least in the state that I live in, you are supposed to be able to have proof of reasonable efforts to prevent placement. I mean, that is part of the law where I live, so it's something that you have to work with when you deal with those kinds of situations. But yeah, it's an interesting job. Never dull. There's always work to do. Like, I'll put it that way. We're busy all the time. Especially with what I do. Like I said, in a way, I kind of work more than one job if you think about it. But, it's the same position. Like I said, I'm a social worker for the same place. It's just I kind of multitask, if you will. Anyway, real quick before I continue on with the rest of the story, here we have the mechanic I was talking about. You water plants with your water balls, and it makes the vines grow. And you use the vines to climb up walls, get over certain objects so that you can get from one edge of the town over to the other, because as you'll see later, there's actually like water streams that you have to get past and climb over and things like that. So by throwing water balls, you can get the seeds to the vines to spread out, and just like magic, they grow in the direction of the water. I don't really remember the Harry Potter spell for this kind of thing. I almost said eat slugs for some reason, but I just love how saying that specifically is apparently a spell, for the record. But anyway, just or better yet, the growing spell that, if anyone remembers the horrible Zelda cartoon from the late 80s, the very first episode, actually, The Ringer, involves an amateur wizard who uses a growing spell. That's almost kind of what this reminds me of in a way. The only difference is that we're not exactly growing beanstalks, but hey, vines are similar enough, right? And yeah, the swan, you're still pursuing after it. I think it's pretty obvious, but I don't think we're catching that swan anytime soon, despite it like being within our grasp for numerous occasions. But you could try. You can always try. So yeah, that's the career that I mentioned earlier as far as what I do. I am a social worker. I've been for the job I've had, like, I'm trying to think how to word this. I've had it since September of 2014. So if anyone wondered why I wasn't uploading videos, I had another job before that, not long, but and then the job before that, even, which was an evil job, I might add. I did not like it at all. That's what I've been up to, though, and that's exactly why videos haven't been a priority over time. I don't know what it is. Like, I just didn't quite have a spark that flared up as far as wanting to sit down and record either. Like, there were times that I considered, I'm like, you know what, maybe I ought to sit down and actually get back into it. But I just never did. And usually what happened, like, there was at least probably, I want to say, 3 or more occasions where I was like so close to sitting down to actually plug in the stuff that I need and everything, and I wanted to record, and then I just didn't because something happened the next day that took up like all my time. And then by the time I was finished with that, it's like there was other stuff to do then after that, and then I get home and I just want to melt after having like really long days with work. So yeah, really sorry guys as far as the long wait for making videos. And I don't know why I'm using this particular time to not really vent, well, I guess maybe vent in a sense, but like kind of just explain things in a way, for those wondering why I've been away for a long time. I covered it to an extent in Wind Waker HD as well, but I thought I'd cover it here because I don't know, there's some people I know who only watch like certain videos that I make on my channel. Zelda is like popular as anything, though. A lot of people like the Zelda videos I make, and pretty much anything Nintendo. Whenever I venture into Sony, it's kind of hit or miss. For this game, I think people seem to have shown some interest in it, so that's a good thing at least. But I know, like, I tried to do Viva Pinata, which the reason I did Viva Pinata was because it was the highest voted game on a poll that I did. And then after I made like a few episodes, I noticed it kind of like died down. And I don't know if that was because I was doing it blind and playing, in my opinion, horribly with the game. Because then I learned later that, yes, you should encourage the breeding mechanic and doing different tasks and stuff to expand the garden and unlock new pinatas that could appear and all that stuff. Maybe that just had something to do with it. I don't know. but it was only like a couple episodes in that I actually got a few negative comments. I actually had to disable comments on one of the videos because people got really, really, really harsh about me not knowing that I could do this or that, like saying you overwatered the plant, or you need to stop having this pinata eat too much candy from the others, or whatever. Like, there was always just something like negative posted on that one specific video. I don't remember which video number it is offhand, but I had to disable comments because it got out of control. There was actually really, you know how like if the comment section gets heated in a very bad way. So to me, I was just like, you know what, let's just screw the comments on that video, because I don't know what it was. It was just getting more attention and people were getting upset, and not just me, but even other commenters as well. And it's like, I don't want to see that happen. So, but my point is, whenever I try new games like that, and I did even mention that I did Viva Pinata blind, and it said that in the video title as well. Every episode it says blind let's play, and for whatever reason that got ignored, even though it's clearly in the video title. And even in the description, and I even verbally say that in the game at different intervals too. And by the way, that was an amazing like glitch, or not really glitch, but it was just like some kind of trippy mechanic there. Not sure what happened exactly, but it was amazing nonetheless. But yeah, back to my original point. Whenever I try different things that aren't Nintendo, I do notice that I take risks, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but hey, you gotta try and venture into new territories. And I try to encourage that to people. Like, there's a few people I know, even some of my own friends, where they are, like, I guess the word is narrow-minded, where they will only watch or play certain games of one company's consoles, and that's it. Like there's people who played nothing but Nintendo or nothing but Sony, like, or Microsoft, you know, it doesn't really matter. Or it could be just that they only play PC games. I do always try to promote for people to be open-minded, at least with watching videos of other consoles, because I do think they're missing out from seeing like other aspects of the video gaming community and just what's out there, really. Kind of like missing out on different ideas, inspirations, stories, gaming mechanics, just a variety of things that you're missing out on if you limit yourself to just one system. Now, I can understand that you have favorites and then things that you prefer to watch, but like I said, at least like I do like to try to promote people to have an open mind with just opening up and watching content of other things outside of the one company's systems that they typically watch. And I do understand it's not really the norm for a household to have like more than one company's consoles. So I mean, they are businesses that compete with one another, you got to keep in mind too, because they try to advertise why what they have is better than another company's. I mean, that's part of business. But yeah, like I am someone that has more than just Nintendo stuff. I mean, obviously I'm playing this. I have, in addition to the Nintendo consoles, I mean, I have a PS3, a PS4, PS2 for that matter. I do have a 360. I play PC games, you know, I have Steam and all that. So I'm someone, you know, like I said, I'm not in that group. I'm really in a minority group if you think about it, because I play a lot of games on different consoles and systems. So I don't know, it's just the lifestyle I have, and I do put some money aside to invest in those sort of things.